Welcome back to another episode of Neuroscience Digest powered by my BrainWise coach. I am Bastian.
And I'm Phil Dixon.
And we are extremely excited to bring you another episode of our Digest series where Phil, who's our resident researcher, has gone through papers and articles that have come through in the last several weeks and has identified some key themes or something that might be interesting. And we're going to talk about it in real time. I'm going to be giving my reactions to it and my kind of overall interpretation, as I am not aware of what the topics are either. And then we'll go through a process of decoding how it might imply or help us live a better life. And then ultimately just have some fun along the way. So Phil, I'm ready to get started if you are.
I'm absolutely funcing at the bit.
Let's do it.
For those of us in the US, the Thanksgiving is behind us. So now all eyes, or in this case, all ears, are being attuned to Christmas coming up. And one of the things that's very typical about Christmas is we hear Christmas songs and Christmas carols. Yes. So a piece came across my desk recently talking about how joining others in singing Christmas carols is highly beneficial. Did you know that?
I love to sing, and Christmas is my favorite holiday, but I was not aware that by joining others in a Christmas carol, it was good for the brain. So I'm very curious to understand why.
And so I'm going to read, I pulled out 4 articles. Okay. And so I'm just going to read some of it. It's that time of year when the air starts to tinkle with angelic voices or ring with the occasional lusty hymn, as carol singers spread their own indomitable brand of festive joy. All that harking and heralding, it's joyful and triumphant. Okay, from the brain to the heart, singing has been found to bring a wide range of benefits to those who do it, particularly if they do so in groups. It can draw people closer together, prime our bodies to fight off disease, and even suppress pain. So might it be worth raising your own voice in good cheer? Singing is a cognitive, physical, emotional, and social act, says Alex Street, a researcher at the Cambridge Institute for Music Therapy Research, who studies how music can be used to help children and adults recover from brain injuries. Research has shown that complete strangers can form unusually close bonds after singing together for about an hour.
Okay. So timing is important then.
I don't know whether timing is important or whether in fact you have to, whether it's a particular time of the day. I don't know whether that research has been done, but certainly if you go and join a choir and sing for an hour, it seems to have all sorts of repercussions in the brain, in the body, and all sorts of places. If you're thinking about whether you should go and join a choir over the next 3 or 4 weeks, the research says go do it.
And I want to just preface something. I think one of the things that we didn't hear in there is that, because some people I can already hear, oh, you don't want me to sing. My voice isn't a joyful noise. I always say, no one said it has to be on tune. It just simply say it's that you have to make a joyful noise. So have a fun time, enjoy the experience, even if perhaps maybe you might not be entirely in tune with everyone else. It's the experience of having a good time, I would imagine, as well as the melody and other things that are really having a positive impact on us physiologically and from a brain perspective.
Yeah, so if you want to go to church where there's hopefully hundreds of people, that's probably a better outlet for you than joining 4 others and going around singing Christmas carols outside of people's doors.
So don't join the quartet if you are tone deaf. Maybe you do, because at the end of the day, maybe it'll still be fun for you. You're blending in with the crowd, but still getting the benefits.
Yeah. So let's continue for a moment.
Yeah.
And so it actually starts with digging a little deeper now. It says, but singing also produces other measurable physical effects. It's been found to improve people's heart rate and blood pressure. Singing in groups or choirs has even been found to boost our immune function in ways that simply listening to the same music cannot. And then it goes into telling us why that might be happening. The singing activates the vagus nerve. And actually, the vagus nerve is the big nerve that runs right through the top of our body. And it's the one that is responsible for all of our autonomic reactions. The prolonged and controlled exhalation that comes along with singing also releases endorphins associated with pleasure, well-being, and the suppression of pain. Singing activates a broad network of neurons on both sides of the brain. So it really is a good thing to do. And it's one of the very few things that comes up in pretty much every culture is singing and music of some sort.
Mm-hmm. And it is something that brings people together. It is something that is creative. It allows for self-expression and whatever it is that might mean something to you. It also can drive a fairly emotional response,
It,
and I know in myself and in others as I witness it at church or other places, it really can drive an emotion, whether it's positive or it's a release of something, but it's really interesting.
yeah. And as I was reading about this, I recalled a time when I lived in Belgium and I found I'm trying to think of the words now. So let me start again. Makes me remember a time in Belgium when I was invited to go to an old church. It was a pre-medieval church, and they
Mm.
were playing medieval music and singing a medieval choir. So, yeah, I went down there with my girlfriend, and the church was up on the top of the hill. And as we arrived, we could hear some of the music, and there was lightning outside and rain, and the wind was blowing. I remember walking in, I still feel it to this moment, a shiver going down the back of my body. It was one of the most emotional music events of my life. And even though it was all in, I don't know, Latin or whatever, just being able to sing along with a couple of hundred other people was an amazing experience. And so that was the article that actually came out of the BBC.
Hmm.
And so I thought, let's do a bit of fact checking here. So I did a bit of research and I came across, I'm amazed these days by the number of different peer reviewed journals there are. This one came up in Brain Behavior and Immunity for Health. So it's been around for 35 years. This journal, no difference between a magazine and a journal, it just sounds better. The Transformative Power of Music, Insights into Neuroplasticity, Health and Disease. I thought, that looks interesting. I wonder what they have to say. And sure enough, it says, music is a universal language that can elicit profound emotional and cognitive responses. We explore the intricate relationship between music and the brain, from how it is decoded by the nervous system to its therapeutic potential in various disorders. And they go on. This is quite a long extract. I won't read it all. But music engages, as we know, a wide network of brain regions and circuits, including sensory motor processing, cognitive, memory, and emotional components.
Interesting.
Social bonding, cognitive abilities, language processing, all of those things, and they're happening on both sides of the brain. So there's probably no one other thing you can do that actually activates all those things. And listening to music is good. Singing solo is good, especially if you're in the shower. But actually going out, this is after you've showered, go out and join a group and sing to your heart's content.
I love it. And I think it just confirms what a lot of people experience. They experience some kind of positive impact from singing, whether it's by themselves, and then when they go sing at church or in a group somewhere, or they're in a community choir or something. And I think it's good for those of us who might be listening to someone in our life that maybe doesn't have the best pitch. Maybe we just bite our tongue a little bit once in a while and let them really enjoy the experience because they are getting something really positive about it. And maybe we just join in. So I think it's a good reminder for all of us because music is something that's a universal language. A lot of people enjoy it. And I think, especially this time of year, Mariah Carey has self-claimed, of course, the seat of the Queen of Christmas. And she's got quite a bit of music that, is going to be playing all season long. There's tons of others, but she just seems to be the most prominent one. And it really does bring people together from all different walks of life to enjoy the Christmas season or music in general.
Yeah. So I dug a bit deeper.
Okay.
And found an article which is talking about how the influence of music on when we undergo surgery.
Interesting. Okay.
And so they talk about a woman. This is some very recent research that's been done in India, in the Indian capital, Delhi. A woman was having her gallbladder removed. Although that's a routine surgery, it's not a trivial surgery. And she's under general anesthetic, as you would expect. So she's in a deep sleep, etc. And what they've found is if they play music during the surgery, people regain consciousness more quickly and clearly recover more quickly,
Mm,
require lower doses of anesthetic drugs than people who heard no music.
interesting.
So I read deeper into the topic and it explains how they were amazed. They said patients exposed to music required lower doses of propofol and fentanyl. They experienced
Hmm,
smoother recoveries, lower cortisol or stress hormone levels, and a much better control of blood pressure during the surgery. Since the
hmm.
ability to hear remains intact under anesthesia, music can still shape the brain's internal state. So the auditory pathway remembers the music even when you're unconscious or non conscious, as we would say. You may not remember the music, but the brain registers it. It talks about how this is a very early piece of research, but it does seem to have an ability underneath that operational level, underneath the anesthesia, that everything seems to be improving in the way of reduced drug use, speedy recovery, and general well being.
Interesting. It's absolutely fascinating. And I can almost believe what the research is saying. I'm sure there's some additional ones you have to share. And it just reminds me of when you watch a lot of these doctor shows on TV, they almost always are playing some kind of music in the surgery. And it's usually for the doctor, they say. But it'd be interesting to go back and see, is it actually having a fairly profound impact from a broader swath of research?
And many years ago, before I knew we had brains, I was talking to a woman who was the head of a trauma unit. She was a nurse who was head of the trauma unit. And she was experimenting at that time with music for recovery. And
Hmm.
she said, whenever we play music, then the patients seem to recover more quickly. She had done no scientific results, but she just
Right.
had anecdotal results that it was actually working. So I think
Hmm.
there's something about music that we are fundamentally driven by that we don't
Hmm.
fully understand yet. It's like a lot of things in the brain, we're just scratching the surface. So,
Right.
anyway, I read this and I thought our BrainWise friends might use the opportunity to actually get out. It's always good to go out for a walk to church or walk to the groups doing the carol singing, sing your heart out because you get benefit from the singing and being outside, especially if you can sing under a tree.
I love it. I think it's great, especially during this time of year, because this is obviously when it's more prominent that those types of things are happening. But there's obvious benefits throughout the entire year that our BrainWise friends can certainly get from doing it. And just we were talking about hosting a Christmas party, which we decided to postpone just due to some things going on, just from my career transition perspective. But were talking about at that time, my husband had said we should have Christmas carolers. And so as soon as we started talking about it, I'm like, oh, it'd be so cool because then we could all join in and actually go carol around the neighborhood, those who wanted to. And it would be really positive impact for ourselves and for those who are joining us. So I think it's a great idea and I love it. And I've always been in choir, show choir. I actually just started going to praise team practice at church to eventually join as a backup as we go along the journey. But I think it's fantastic.
So I was in the choir until they found out what was wrong with it. And it turns out I can't hold a note in a bucket. So, anyway, you probably won't get the benefit of my joining you in that singing process.
You can just join and move your mouth with us.
No, lip sync.
Yeah, there you go. You don't have to let out any sound. You can just lip sync along. A lot of artists do that anyway. So you're going to join that. You'll just be like them.
And I hadn't realized until this last Thursday that most of the singers in the Macy's Thanksgiving parade are lip syncing anyway.
100%, which is so sad in some instances. I understand it because they're outside to some degree, but they do it all the time. And then it makes you wonder, do they really even have a voice?
Yeah.
And I'm always drawn towards those who have fantastic voices. Of course, I love the performance and kind of the grandeur of it all, but more inclined to follow someone because they've got a really unique or powerful singing voice versus those someone might call, my mom always called it bubblegum pop, where they can somewhat carry a tune, but it really isn't that unique. And they start moving and they lose all breath support. So then they have to lip sync when they're dancing anyways. Those I'm not really drawn to. So it's sad to see that there's so many that do. And something else, Phil, that I think will be interesting for us to do a part 2 on this exact topic in the future is how AI music is now becoming so prominent, especially online.
Ah,
Where they're actually there's like whole artists they're using AI. The artist is not real. They're using AI to create the lyrics, to create the sound, the music that's behind them, and to create the voice.
well,
Apparently people can tell, but it's fascinating. And there's a whole ethical thing for artists going, well, how is that? How are they shouldn't be able to make any money off of that? There's this whole discussion that's happening. And I happen to agree in some cases with them because there's a lot of artistry involved, but it's just amazing.
for those of us who grew up in the 60s, there hasn't been any great music since the middle of 1975 anyway. So what can I say?
I don't know. I guess it depends because I love Chris Brown. I'm sure he's not someone that you would go and see just on a whim or anything like that, but he is immensely talented. Now, it's like a guilty pleasure in some cases because his music is questionable in terms of sometimes the intentions behind the songs, but he is a fabulous performer. He's an amazing singer. But yes, I would agree there are less and less really fabulous singers and great music that seems to have emerged. Unfortunately, a lot of it comes with this like glitz and glamour, and whether or not you have even an ounce of talent isn't as important anymore. Which is why I like watching The Voice over American Idol and some of those other shows, because The Voice is, at least at first, entirely dependent on your voice itself.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with your look or overall what they do on American Idol. Are you able to be something that someone looks up to, have the whole package? It's not about that, at least at first.
And that's actually, I don't tend to watch much TV, but I do like the initial voice episodes because you remove all the bias from the site. So it's a wonderful opportunity. Anyway,
I love it.
So music, go out, sing, enjoy.
Exactly. Very good. Very timely as we go into the holiday season. It's certainly upon us. Mariah Carey already sang it's time. So I don't know if I feel that she always kicks off the season, usually early November, and sings that really high note that only she probably can hit nowadays. So we're in the midst of it. Enjoy the experience with your friends and family or independently or with your group, whatever it is you might be doing. Go out and sing, be in nature, and just enjoy the season. Because one of the things that I think I'm reminded of over the last couple of days is there's a lot that's happening in the world that is entirely outside of our control, Phil, and it might have people feeling anxious and nervous and all these other things. But one, there's nothing we can do about it. And then two, it's probably not impacting us. Maybe, and I don't want to speak for everyone, but to a large degree, it's not impacting us on a day-to-day basis. And so maybe for the next month, tune that part out and instead focus your attention on going out and singing and spending time with your family and friends and just see the difference in how much joy you might have, because the world's going to swirl regardless of if you pay attention to it or not.
Amen.
So very good. Until next week, when we do our next episode of Neuroscience Digest, stay curious, stay compassionate, and always stay BrainWise.